DCW, day 2, almost coming to a close. I managed to nab Mike Meyer from the DCA. Very, very busy man. What have you been up to? What are you going to be up to?
Well, as you know, the data center industry never sleeps. So, and my role in the DCA is talent development and skill development. So I've been focused a lot on that through my business Portman Partners on the exec search side. Most recently launched a new recruitment business called Flint DC to focus on that sort of next level of talent. But talent development's always been sort of a big priority for me.
Yeah.
How we solve the skills deficit and of the future and how we make it more sustainable, the entry and barrier points. So, most recently last week, I did a lecture at the University of East London to 39 PhD and sort of senior level master's students on career pathways into the data center. And in prepping for that lecture, I was having a look at the opportunities within the sector and what it looks like currently. So the current sort of layout of the market. And I started with how many professionals are in the data center market or that list data center as a skill on LinkedIn.
Right.
Because I firmly believe that LinkedIn's where workplace lives.
Yeah.
So it's a good tool to analyze that. And I had a look at firstly globally, how many people listed data centers as a skill set. We come up with about 1.9 million people globally, which was less than I thought. But the interesting thing was that's only grown by 3% in the last 12 months.
Considering how much the data center industry's grown in those months, that's really strange.
Yeah, and from a position of deficit. If you remember, we've always been behind the curve, so we've been looking for more people. So the 3% growth versus the rate of growth in the data center, the two don't marry up. So if we thought we had a skills shortage in the past, it's getting worse.
Okay.
So that was the first thing that it highlighted for me. The second thing was that just over 10%.
Okay.
So broadly speaking, 180,000 people changed jobs in the last 12 months.
Right.
So they haven't left the sector.
Right.
They're still listing data centers as a skill, but they've changed roles.
Right, okay.
So that says to me that we're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Poaching is still...
Just moving them around.
Yeah, moving people around the board. People are moving for various reasons, whether that's culture, well-being, career progression, financial reasons, all sorts. But there's a lot of movement. And last week, there were 36,000 jobs advertised with data center as a skill.
Wow.
So market's not growing from a talent perspective, not keeping up. Lots of people moving internally and 35,000 shortage.
Wow.
So then I took it a step further and I had a look at, well, where were we 5 years ago?
Yeah.
And I pulled up the Uptime Institute stats, which in 2019 said, broadly speaking, there were 2 million people in data center.
Yep.
We would need 2.3 million by 2025. So there was a 300,000 deficit. Well, we're now there. It's 2025. We don't have 2 million people in the sector anymore. According to LinkedIn, we have 1.9 million.
So we've actually gone down.
We've gone down. And we're now assuming that there's been growth, so we no longer need 2.3 million. We probably need 2.5 million.
Yeah.
So that 300,000 people deficit is doubled.
Yeah.
In the last 5 years.
So I was going to a follow up on that is the data center industry knows exactly what it needs and what's out there. Are you seeing the students interested within the data center sector as a career path? Is there the desire to join the industry?
Well, I mean, it's things like the lecture at the university last week that are really important. But beyond that, it's those are university students, PhD students that are focused on AI and data centers. So they were knowledgeable. They knew what the sector was. So we've got to go a step back now. And we work well with I work closely and well with Adele D'Souza from the Higher Rising Stars program. And if you'll remember, a year ago, we did the student showcase at this very event, DCW.
Yeah.
So, we had 60 students from East London, toured them around Data Center World. At the beginning of the event, we said, how many of you kids know, how many of you students know about the data center sector? None of them.
Right.
At the end, in our wrap-up survey, how many of you would consider a job in the data center sector after today? 97%.
You couldn't have wished for a better response than that.
Absolute win for me. So a little bit, rewinding to what I said in the beginning about forming a new business called Flint DC. I've always really been concerned that Portman was focused on the exec level.
Right.
And this is people that are well established in their careers and in leadership roles. And doing all the mentoring at school level, I kind of felt we abandoned them after that. We didn't have a conduit to get them into the sector. So we were exposing the sector to them and then kind of just leaving them to their own devices to get in. And Adele's Rising Star program is fantastic at sort of helping them in early careers, navigating the way in. But there was no one that actually took them by the hand and helped them get into the sector. So, you know, partly because my clients were asking us to sort of look at that next level of talent, and partly because I feel so passionately about the young people and introducing the industry and making it sticky, but also then assisting. That we formed Flint to do these student road shows and do this education piece and do the events, but then actually help them, assist them, handheld them into the industry. So thereby making it sticky. And instead of just losing them to other industries that are probably more progressive
more proactive,
proactive and progressive in innovation. You know, I think very often the data center industry is still stuck in we used to do it this way. It's worked so well. Why do we need to change? And that may be valid for many things. What it's not valid for is talent attraction. You know, people look for jobs differently. People are looking for different things within a role. You know, I was talking to a Harvard graduate yesterday, engineering, electrical engineering, and I said to her, "What you doing here?" And she said, "Well, she's doing a project management apprenticeship." And I said to her, "You got a Harvard degree in engineering. Why don't you go into engineering?" Don't want to do engineering. I want to work in the data center sector, and I want to do project management.
So there is the talent out there that wants to come into the sector.
And I think that she was approached before she graduated, a proactive approach by this specific company to identify talent earlier on, help them get a degree, but then actually give them a career opportunity following that. So you can't just sit back and go, "Hey, here we are. We're a shiny data center operator. We're a shiny OEM. Come and work for us." Why wouldn't you? Competition is hectic at the moment for talent, and you've got to be proactive, and you've got to work with the right people. You've got to mentorship programs, and for me, I think a large part of what I do now is mentorship. Portman will continue to be Portman and work on the exec piece because we'll always have that leadership level, but we're going to run out of people. And we're going to run out of people to place at that level. So we look at Flint, introduce people, but the next level below that is introducing people into the data center sector. And I think doing that sixth form school leavers is paramount to success here. There's no silver bullet when it comes to how we fix talent.
Well, even for Portman, realistically, if they're not getting the talent coming in at the base level, they're going to run out of execs. Like 15, 20 years from now, there's going to be a deficit in execs available.
Well, exactly. And I think there's a lot of businesses that focus on single silo approach. So ex-military, you know, UCTs, for instance, which are great resources in their own. They don't solve the overall challenge. 600,000 people globally. I think the numbers and I think ex-military leavers are fantastic in the industry. They bring a wealth of real knowledge, and they're able to have an immediate impact, but there's not enough of them. You know, UTC, Heathrow, great feeder, but they only have 30 odd students a year. So we're not even scraping the surface. So we need wide attraction, and we need a broader approach. So some of the things that we're doing in conjunction with the DCA next week Friday, Marriott Hotel, thank you Marriott, have come up and sponsored the event and the meal and the food and everything we need. We're taking 90 students from near Heathrow. We're doing a half-day session with them at a hotel all around the data center, the sector, career progression, impact, telling some of our own stories on how we got into the industry. But importantly, two operators once again have opened up their arms and are now letting us take students to the data center for the second year, or actually third year in a row.
That's brilliant, because that's obvious that them two operators can see the value. They see what's going on.
And that's growing for us year on year. We were fortunate, we had 60 students the year before, 90 students this year. We actually had 180 lined up for this year, but one of our operators unfortunately pulled out. And that doesn't have an impact on us. That has an impact on 90 potential, school leavers that we could have brought into the market. So we need to be doing more of that. So that's next week, and that's London. But the next thing I'm doing is Pan-African Congress,
Okay.
Which is South Africa. Obviously, there's no secret I'm South African, and I have a passion for Africa and repatriation. So we're working with StepX,
Okay.
and we're doing a student showcase at Pan-African Congress. And we're not targeting school leavers there, we're targeting university leavers. It's a different dynamic down there.
Yep.
And what we're trying to do is stem the brain drain in South Africa. So invariably what happens is those students qualify, have a degree, and they get snapped up by European organizations, and off they go. Not by choice, opportunity.
Yeah.
Opportunity to make an income, support their families. When you talk to them on a one-to-one level, they want to stay at home. They want to be with their family, and they want to support their family, but there isn't enough opportunity. The data center sector is growing rapidly in South Africa and Africa. Why not give them that opportunity in the sector?
Yeah.
And we have African operators, European organizations that are developing in Africa that are all battling for talent.
Yeah.
We're going to solve that challenge, hopefully, by finding 30 new degree, end of year degree students that are now interested in the sector, and they can start apprentice degrees. And we're targeting engineering students, so they are prime for data center.
Yeah.
But if we had the resources and the ability, we could go bigger. We could look at business students.
Yeah.
Finance, marketing, business development. But we have to pick our battles, and we need more people to get involved, more people to support it, more people to sponsor these events. They cost money. To organize, to develop, to run. So we're always looking for sponsors at these events, and the DCA has been a huge backer of development, skill development at the Rising Stars and entry level, and they continue to do that. And a lot of the DCA partners are really valuable in that. But we all need to be doing more to solve the challenge. I guarantee you, we sit here next year, Mark. Let's do it. Sit here in 12 months' time.
See what we got.
And I'll run the stats again. And I'll tell you now, there'll be less people in the industry, small growth, loads of people have changed, and we'll still have a deficit. So we are all work together.
I don't know. With the work you're doing, I'm a bit more positive, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm exceptionally positive, and I'm really happy to be able to contribute. It's I started in this sector in 1995.
Right.
You wouldn't tell
people
it from looking at me.
People didn't know a data center was in 1995.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I tell my story. I started off as a cable guy, and I installed the first ever blown fiber solution in Africa for British Airways, and that was my first exposure to the tech industry. And cabling being networking being a big aspect of data center. But it was very quickly after that I was involved in server rooms, comms rooms, on-prem, off-prem, server room, network, biggest sort of networking across Africa, building data centers all over the world. I built a data center in Timbuktu, of all places, with lime and clay. So, I've seen and done it all, and I'm so passionate about the industry that I want everybody to have an opportunity.
Needs more people like you, Mike.
Well, thank you. But there's a lot of good people in this industry, and we just need to work together, less siloed, have a joined up approach. And I think we also need to look at cross transferable skills. We need to really think about how we advertise roles, what key skills we're looking for, less about experience and more about impact.
Yeah.
What we miss out on, I think, is the opportunity to grow rapidly through potential for impact, because for all the reasons I've just said, people don't have data center as an experience listed on a CV because they just haven't done it. But a lot of the skills that they have, and a lot of the work that they have done, and a lot of the successes that they have had, would have a huge impact in the data center sector if we just changed our mindset slightly. So, there's positives, there's areas we need to work harder in. I think the DCA is paramount to sort of driving that. I think there's a lot of organizations and businesses within this room that support that. Definitely positive. I think this year is going to be phenomenal. But can we ever do enough? And I don't know. we can only try.
Well, I'm going to hold you to that. Another interview in 12 months' time, and we'll see where we're at.
Excellent.
Mike, that has been
Thank you.
absolutely superb. Keep
Thank
up
you,
the good
Mark.
work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Speak to you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.